Welcome back to Radio Taiwan International. You're listening to Geek Out. What's your cup of tea, tickles your fancy, or floats your boat? Join us as we share passions from people in Taiwan and around the world. I'm your host, Michelle Chang, and today in the studio we have back my bestie, Eric Gao.
Hey there. It's me again.
Previously referred to as the Omni Nerd.
The Omni Nerd. That should be my handle.
Yes. This is part 2 of the last episode talking about
Warhammer lore deep dive. Not even that deep dive. I'm just giving you like the bare bones of the universe's history.
Because I imagine in order to do an actual deep dive, it would...
There are entire YouTube channels dedicated to this.
That will do so many episodes.
That can do like hours on like one character.
Yeah, totally.
This you're getting the surface level stuff here, guys.
Kind of a cliff notes, as you will.
So there used to be one major interstellar empire, the Necrontyr. They decided to go to bed for 60 million years. Mm-hmm. After that, there was a second major interstellar empire, the Eldar, who, through their hedonistic ways, birthed a fourth chaos god who ate all their souls, and now they're just remnants of a former power.
Just trying to survive.
Nom 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 nom.
Yes.
And then we get to humans, who have been around on the intergalactic stage before, but relatively minor players. Mm-hmm. But now is their time to shine. Because on Earth, on old Terra, the Emperor is building his empire. He has his Thunder Warriors, these genetically modified humans who are just bigger and stronger than ordinary warriors. And he needs these kind of warriors because he's dealing with mutants and psychic experiments and all of the stuff that's popped up over the last 40,000 years of humans.
Sometimes otherworldly beings. Yeah, exactly.
So he eventually does manage to either conquer or make alliances with every warlord on the face of the planet. And now that he has Earth under his control, he makes alliances with the gene smiths of Luna. He makes alliances with the Mechanicum of Mars. And with these two factions allied to him, he starts building up his base, starts building up his army to take his crusade to the stars.
And I can guess by the name Gene Smith and Mechanicum that he is crafting the human race to something?
Yes and no. Baseline humans remain as they are. There's a lot of us.
Really? So it's just like you and me?
Yes.
Okay.
But he needs those gene smiths for his Primarch project. So in his secret labs in the Himalayan mountains, as they're known,
I love it.
He has secret gene labs where he creates 20 gene sons known as the Primarchs. Unknown to most people at this time, he bargained with the gods of the warp, the 4 chaos gods, for some of their power to put into these 4 Primarchs. Now, the Emperor himself is the most powerful psyker in human history.
Psyker meaning he can communicate?
No, he has psychic powers.
Yes,
he can communicate telepathically. He can also do many crazy things with his powers. We don't have time to get into it.
Oh, yes. Cliff notes.
He creates these 20 Primarchs who are meant to be the generals of his army. There will be legions created based off the genetic templates of each individual Primarch. So 1 through 20. There's going to be 20 Primarchs leading 20 legions.
I see. He
starts incubating them in these pods. Somewhere during this process, something goes wrong.
As it always does.
There have been a few explanations for like how this happened, but in the lore, it's always from a sort of chaos-tainted point of view. But regardless, the effect is known. These 20 gestation pods get sucked into some sort of warp portal from the heart of the Imperial Palace and scattered across the galaxy. So his generals
are just gone.
And he doesn't have the resources to restart the project from scratch. So he does the next best thing. He takes some of the genetic samples that he had of each Primarch.
Right.
And he creates gene seed. And this gene seed can be implanted into young human males, and they will become what are now known as Space Marines. So a Space Marine is a superhuman soldier. They are normal humans who are implanted with extra cultured organs, like a second heart, a third lung, a new kidney. It gives them massively overdeveloped muscles.
Right, to make them bigger,
stronger.
Yes.
They have denser bones, and they can breathe underwater. They have excellent low light vision. They can eat things' brains to get their memories.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is all true according to the lore, folks.
Okay.
They can spit poison. They can spit venom.
Oh, wow. Okay. So
Or is it acid? Yeah.
advanced human. Superhero? I don't
Transhuman is the term.
transhuman. Oh, yeah,
Transhuman.
that's good one. That was good.
Right. So he makes these 20 Space Marine legions. He uses the first one to wipe out the Thunder Warriors who served him before.
Oh, I see how it goes.
Because A, they're genetically unstable,
Yeah.
and B, they were bred in a way that made them not viable long term. From here, the Emperor launches his Great Crusade. Vast armies with spaceships from the Mechanicum are sent out into space, first conquering the solar system, and then out into the wider galaxy. They all eventually get their own names. So they have the First Legion because they're the first. They just call themselves the first.
The First Legion,
first
of
and
course.
the best.
Of course.
Right. Some of them are recruit from certain parts of the world. Others take from all over. So they have all kind of their own distinctive identity that they're forming as they go into action.
Right.
And some find that they're better at certain forms of warfare than others. Some are relatively unknown to the wider armies, like they're kept in reserve for certain missions that you don't know about. Others are like the scouts who go out ahead and find planets with humans on them and kind of pave the way for the armies to come and either conquer or bring into the fold of this new nascent imperium.
Okay.
This goes on like this for 30 odd years before they find the first Primarch. Each of the 20 Primarchs
The lost that had been lost.
that had been lost landed on different planets out in the galaxy. And part of the Great Crusade is to hopefully find the Emperor's sons and bring them back into the fold. This first one is known as Horus Lupercal. He, I believe, is in charge of the 16th Legion, known then as the Luna Wolves. So he gets very close with the Emperor, his father.
Well, yeah.
It's just him and Dad leading the Great Crusade for the good of humanity. I believe he is the only one to be found for the next 30 to 50 years before the next one's found.
So plenty of time to grow
Very close to
very
Dad.
close.
Exactly. Eventually, as the Great Crusade gets bigger and bigger, each new world that they conquer provides new forces to join the Great Crusade. So it gets bigger and bigger as it goes. They go farther and farther away from Terra. Communication lines and logistics lines get longer and longer. But on the whole, the empire is growing. All 20 Primarchs are eventually found. However, 2 have been struck from the histories of the Imperium, and we don't know why.
Ooh.
There are hints
Ooh.
that there could have been some sort of betrayal. There could have been some sort of chaos taint. We don't know for sure. Number 2 and number 11. We don't know their name.
This is interesting.
We don't know their home planets. We don't know what their legions were called.
Okay.
Even their legions have been dismantled, destroyed, wiped from the records.
This is cool. So basically they're building in this whole mystery factor
Yes.
of what happened to these particular Primarchs and their legions.
If we want to jump out of the lore for a bit now, Games Workshop, the company that does Warhammer, did this intentionally back in the day just so players could create their own legions.
Oh, that
Right?
actually is really cool.
But like now that the lore is much more canonized and fixed, there's none of this like, oh yeah, one of the original legions. Like, yeah, that was one of yours. Nowadays it's like, oh, one of the existing 1,000 chapters. Yeah, that's one of yours. It's a very different thing. Anyway, so 18 still exist by the time that the Great Crusade is sort of coming to an end. They've been hugely successful. I think almost 1 million worlds have been brought into the Imperium by now. Many by force, because they obviously don't want to give up their independence. They don't believe the Emperor is the Emperor of Earth. They think the Earth is a myth, because it's been so long.
Why? That's true.
40,000 years.
Yeah, and so many are so far removed that nobody set eyes on
Right. Like, did we come from somewhere else? We don't know. We've
have
lived
no
here all
idea.
along.
Exactly.
Right? And there's a huge war against the orcs. There's a huge orcish empire that
has come up after the Eldar kind of fell.
they're not as big. They're not galactic scale, but it's still like a large cluster of planets or whatever under this one orcish warlord.
Right.
The Emperor and Horus managed to kill the orc warlord. And during the triumph afterwards, it's a huge display of military power.
Yeah.
They terraform a planet, basically, into a stage for the Emperor to stand there with his Primarchs and have parades of Imperial Army troopers, Space
Starships,
Marines,
yeah.
Titans walking past to salute him. And it's at this event with about at least half the Primarchs there that the Emperor announces that he is going back to Terra. He is not going to personally lead the Great Crusade anymore. In his stead, Horus is going to be the new War Master.
Ooh.
Which is a very loaded title, if you think about it. The Emperor is going back to build up the bureaucracy that keeps the Empire running, but also for some sort of secret project that he doesn't tell anyone about.
So it's not to retire and like play golf.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
But Horus is like, cool, thanks for putting this trust in me, but why can't you tell me what you're doing? Like, do you not trust us?
Do you not trust us, Dad?
Do you not trust us, Dad?
Oh.
Horus, he is very popular. He's loved by all his brothers, to a greater or lesser extent. But he was the first. He spent the most time with his father alone. And so some of his brothers aren't terribly happy. They could like, I should have been War Master.
Of course, there's going to be sibling rivalry.
But others
jealousy.
are like, oh yeah, he's the best of us. Yeah, we'll follow him. But he's got this whole pressure on him now,
Of
right?
course.
Instead of just leading his own forces, he's now responsible for all of humanity's armed forces scattered across the galaxy.
Yes.
Every, military campaign, every request for reinforcements at some level eventually winds up on his desk. And then he's got this whole thing in the back of his mind, like, what isn't my dad telling me? A few more years pass. Horus and his now renamed legion, they went from being the Luna Wolves to the Sons of Horus. They are called back to a world that they had conquered previously, that has rebelled. And this is a huge blow to their honor, of course.
Of course.
Like, what we do, we get done. Right? We get this done. And it's being run by a former comrade of theirs, a Imperial Army general who was left behind to run this planet now.
Right.
And they get there, and things have kind of rotten on this moon of Davin. They find this traitor general now, and somehow he's able to wound Horus, this demigod of war.
I'm making a face in the studio.
She's making a face.
Yeah, okay.
Not only that, Horus still wins. Like this general is killed, but he wounds Horus. The wound's not closing. Horus is on the edge of death.
This guy's supposed to be superhuman.
He is superhuman.
Yeah.
They're demigods. The Primarchs are demigods. More intelligent, more hardy, stronger than baseline humans by factors of 10, at least.
Yeah.
And his legion is losing their minds. Like, this has never happened before. There's never been a Primarch that's been incapacitated.
Right.
Especially not the War Master, their leader. They don't know what to do. There's this other Space Marine there from a different legion, Erebus of the World Eaters. And he's like, hey, these shamans on the moon here, they can heal him. Let me take Horus to these shamans. And because they have no other ideas, like their apothecaries can't heal him. All their science can't heal him. So they have no choice. They agree. And it's during this healing process that the Chaos Gods get their sticky fingers into Horus's soul.
Dun, dun, dun.
And begins the process of turning him against his father.
Oh, I love this. There are twists and turns. It's great. There's father-son drama.
So slowly, over the next several years, Horus becomes more embittered. He sees it's him and his Astartes in general, not just his legion, but the Astartes in general, who are out there fighting and dying for humanity. But it's the bureaucrats back on Earth who are like, okay, we need you to do this and this and this, and you need to send back money and resources to build up the empire. And so the bureaucrats are getting in the way of the warriors. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. They don't understand.
They don't understand what it's
They're
like.
asking for more and more, and they don't.
But they're not out here dying on the front lines.
Exactly.
So eventually, Horus has enough. He gathers half of his Primarch brothers to his banner, and they start a civil war that is eventually known as the Horus Heresy.
That's where that name comes from.
That's where that name comes from.
Excellent.
It takes about 7 years from like the first overt battles. Primarchs die. Brothers die.
Oh.
This has never happened before.
Yeah, and
Even the two that have disappeared, we don't know if they died or not.
That's true. We don't know if they're alive or where they are.
Some of them are very obviously corrupted by chaos. Each of the 4 chaos gods basically chooses one and says, you're mine now.
So good. I love this. So much drama.
And they fight their way back to Terra, step by step. So death and destruction on a galactic scale, all the way back to Earth. There are a few loyalist Primarchs left who have made it back, and they make a final stand. The Siege of Terra. Again, they managed to fight off most of the traitor forces. Obviously, being chaos tainted, they're not exactly the most cohesive fighting force in the universe. Some are defeated, some just leave the field of battle. And eventually, Horus lays a trap for the Emperor. He's on his flagship in orbit, and he lowers his shields. The Emperor takes a strike force, teleports onto the ship to face his son and kill him. They fight. Another Primarch dies during the fighting. Sanguinius, rest in peace.
Oh.
And eventually, Horus and the Emperor are face to face. They fight. The Emperor wins, but not before suffering a mortal blow. He's taken back to Terra, and he's placed on the Golden Throne, an artifact that keeps him alive, but on the edge of death. And he's been that way for the next 10,000 years.
Holy crap. I think I'm allowed to say crap. He's on life support on the Golden Throne.
Yes.
And he can't leave it.
He cannot leave it. It takes the souls of 1,000 psychers a day to keep him alive. So across the galaxy, there are ships bringing in psychers to Terra daily.
To keep him alive.
Just to keep him alive.
And he had to kill his son.
He had to kill his son. Not just kill him, snuff out his soul. It wasn't just like, I'm killing your body and your soul is free now.
Good God.
He destroyed him utterly.
I see. Okay. Grim dark it is. It is very grim in the studio right now. And that
I love this universe
right?
so
and
much.
So ends the Horus Heresy.
So ends the Horus Heresy.
Man alive. And about what time frame are we talking about now?
We're about 10,000 years before the modern era, so about 30,000.
I see. Okay, so 30,000 CE.
Yes.
Is where we're at.
Is roughly. The dates in universe are a little shaky.
A lot, obviously.
Yeah.
But I can see why you love this lore world, because they've actually written it so that it is super dramatic. It is very grimdark, but it's the same reason why we watch like Breaking Bad. A lot of little twists and turns. Strangely, unexpectedly, a lot of emotional involved. What is the word? Father, son.
There is a lot of that.
If there's pulling a lot of heartstrings there. I'm assuming the readership of the lore material is mostly male in gender.
Yes.
Yeah, then they did well, because y'all generally have at least one foot in the father-son.
Generally, yes.
Generally.
That's a safe assumption. Yes.
So there. So they wrote to their audience well. So then I'm going to ask you, how does one get started? Like obviously, we don't pick up a Bible and flip to page 1 and we start.
In the beginning.
In the beginning.
Kind of like what you're saying, the universe is so big and dramatic, but there's so much room for the little stories.
Yes.
Right? Which is, I think, one of the reasons why I like it so much. There are so many authors working in the Warhammer universe. There are lots of standalone stories, but if you really want to start, there is an entire series called the Horus Heresy. It's been about a decade that they've been writing this. They finished up recently when they finished the Siege of Terra.
Oh, excellent. So it's finished.
So-
Not like George R.R. Martin. Did you?
They've done 60 books
Oh, good.
in the time it's taken George R.R. Martin.
Sit down and write.
Sit down and write. So yeah, that's a very good starting point. So like from a historical perspective, it tells the story of the Horus Heresy from beginning to end.
Oh, that's great.
There's also a lot of books set in the modern era. I got started with a series called Gaunt's Ghosts, written by Dan Abnett. He's one of the best writers in the business. It's also a bit more approachable because it's about normal human soldiers rather than transhuman space marines.
Right. You actually mentioned that series in the last episode that you were here doing with Jared.
Yes, I did.
So that's a easier way to jump into the universe for a lot of people.
But that also turned out to be like a very long series on its own.
I see.
If you like things a bit more comedic, there's the Caiaphas Cain series, which is also about a normal human. He is a commissar who's supposed to be like a very serious, dour discipline officer among the Imperial Guard. But he's more like a roguish, knavish, kind of like happy-go-lucky, trying to skive off from dangerous duties, but he keeps getting sucked in somehow.
I see.
That's also a very fun series that I enjoy.
Okay.
So there's a lot of different ways to approach it. There's certain books that are explicitly horror, certain books that are explicitly like crime, and then of course just the general sci-fi, shoot people with crazy guns and weapons and stuff.
Yes.
Which is like 99% of the universe, honestly.
Well, it is,
It's called Warhammer. Come on.
Yeah, it's Warhammer, and it takes place mostly in space.
Yes.
Thank you so much for geeking out with
You're
me today. And thanks, listeners, for tuning into Radio Taiwan International. I'm Michelle Chang, and I'll be back next Thursday with another episode of Geek Out.